Okay, that's fine. We'll stick with what we're doing. This is Bocce.
Okay.
He's so nice.
Little guy.
Yes, almost 10 weeks.
10 weeks?
Yes, March 23rd is when he was born. Don't yeah.
Okay. And how's potty training going?
So we've set up, I don't know, should we show you our space? Would that help?
Sure. If you want to show me the setup, that's fine.
Yeah.
So show them the crate and then show them what we've got going on.
So this is our family room here, and we've kind of set up this little kind of play area for him here in front of the couch. I don't know if you could see it.
Yep.
But we basically took away our coffee tables and, you know, just have this whole area for him and put some plastic down.
Okay.
And then this is the crate that we have. We went with like an all kind of loose site.
Sure.
So that he can kind of see out, and his bed's in there.
Do you want to do this on an iPad? It's too hard to do.
Can you see it?
Yep, I can see it clearly.
Okay, yeah, he can see it. So that's kind of his setup there.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we've also done is we set up outside here on our deck these pads here.
Sure. Okay.
And we put two side by side so that we're trying to get him to go on these pads.
Okay.
A couple of times.
And then, you know, this is kind of our, like I was telling you, this is kind of our setup with the huge yard.
Sure.
He loves playing.
So we've been kind of running him around in here. We're actually going to the vet later on today, right after our call to do his first vet visit.
Okay.
So
Maybe get some shots.
yeah, he might have to get some shots and stuff. So that's it. That's kind of the setup. And we're taking him out every hour and a half to 2 hours to try to get him to go potty.
Okay. Hello?
So would love, you know, maybe in terms of getting him to go on that pad, because, you know, once he gets vaccinated and we get the clearance from the vet, you know, we're open to, you know, walking him on the sidewalk and stuff like that in front. But just for the ease, we want him to go on those pads, especially at nighttime.
Well, and to be honest, I'm not comfortable walking him in our neighborhood. We're in Lakeview, but I don't want to be out on the streets at 11 p.m. So I'd like to, during the day, let him go outside on walks, and at night, if we have to, at 11 or 12, just have him go on those paths.
Gotcha. So just real quick, when you said you're taking him out every 1.5 to 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
You cut off for like 30 seconds. Was there anything else you said in that time frame?
No, I just said that we're interested in getting your input on that. If that's sufficient, if we should be doing more, we should be less, knowing he's, you know, basically 9 weeks old.
Somebody randomly before this call had told us it's basically every hour for the month that it's been alive. I don't know if that's true. That was just another dog owner suggestion.
Yeah, sure. So if you do any research on your own, you're going to find a ton of information, and a lot of the information is going to be wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that 1 hour per month rule is actually true.
Oh, nice.
So this first class is most likely going to be potty and crate training. The next class is most likely going to be reviewing that and then correcting like puppy biting, stuff like that. And by the third
Can we move puppy biting up? We have some very nervous little ones who are.
Well, it's all going to be a part of it, right?
Correct.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
It's really just information.
Yeah.
Okay. Class 3 is where we most likely start the food stuff and the obedience, but typically the first 2 classes are always just a ton of information. Okay.
Okay.
So for the potty training, yes, the general rule of thumb is an hour per month that the animal's alive is technically what they're able to hold it for. Okay. So 2 hours it does not mean that your puppy will hold it for 2 hours. Okay, it just means that's what they're capable of. And this is when they're awake and active. This rule does not apply when they're sleeping overnight.
Right.
Overnight, your puppy is already capable of holding it for the 8 hours, okay? If you're waking up middle of the night to run your puppy out, just keep in mind, you're possibly creating the habit where the puppy will have to go out like at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I was up last night at 2 o'clock.
All right,
Yeah.
but we're not, what we're saying though is that we're not waking the dog up to go potty. But if the dog is up and is clawing at the crate, you're saying that he might need to go out, right?
Correct.
Right.
However, if you let the puppy out, the puppy is learning, if I wake up and scratch, they will let me out, right?
Ah, okay, good to know.
Which will potentially become a habit.
Okay.
That's the issue, right? So my suggestion is, and the puppy's in that little area overnight.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. If he yips and barks, and we're gonna have to talk about that too, because that's a bit large for his size. Is I don't let the puppy out overnight. Okay. I ignore the barking and the whining. I expect that I'm gonna wake up to a potty mistake. It's part of the process. Okay. But I want the puppy to learn that if they wake up middle of the night, that I'm not gonna let them out.
Okay. So
Usually
even this young, we could start that.
correct.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
Puppies, as soon as 8 weeks, at 8 weeks old, can hold it overnight. Right. It's just people feel bad. That's all it is.
Got it.
We have 3 kids, so we're used to the crying and, you know what I mean? So we got it. We can say no to it.
Yeah, we
So-
call it
So do you usually clock that 8 hours from the time that he falls asleep?
I would do it from the moment, from his last outing. Like if you take him out at 10 o'clock, and you wake up at 7, like you should be fine. It's 9
Okay.
hours technically, but you should be fine.
Great.
Okay.
And don't worry about keeping things very regimented, because life's not going to allow you to have a very regimented routine. Okay. But I would just suggest you ignore him overnight. We're going to have to make a couple of changes, however, in order to make that actually happen. Okay. So we're going to cover all those things as we go along. So for the potty training, the 2-hour schedule applies when you're home all day. Okay. So like, let's say Saturday, you're home all day, you wake up at 8, or let's say you wake up at 7, you take him out to potty, you bring him back in at 7:30, you feed him, you water him, and then at 8 o'clock, you run him back out again. Okay. His next outing would then be 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, so on and so forth, right? And there's gonna be a couple exceptions there, but that's your general schedule for the day, every 2 hours.
Okay.
The exceptions are gonna be when you feed him or give him water. Puppies typically go within 15 to 30 minutes of ingesting water or food, okay? So that's why I said if you feed them at 7:30, at 8 o'clock, you'd be letting them out again.
Okay.
You do not want to leave free food or food accessible all day, nor water. You want to control both these resources.
Okay.
It's going to make potty training a lot easier. So if you feed them at let's say you take them out at 12 and you feed them at 12:30, then at 1 o'clock you would let them out, and then 3 o'clock would then be his next outing.
Okay.
Now, if let's say in the morning he pees and poops, he's empty, you're good, right? It's 8 o'clock, his next outing's at 10 o'clock. At 9:30, maybe he starts to wander off away from the family into the kitchen, into the hallway. You want to assume he's going to have a potty mistake. You do not want to run him out to the bathroom. Okay, you actually want to kennel him.
Oh.
The reason is you want to put him on a schedule, and if you take him out whenever he looks like he has to go, he doesn't learn to hold it. He learns to go when he has to go.
Okay.
Good to know. What about if he's in the act of going and is having an accident in the house?
Then the most you can do is what I'll do is like a loud stomp and clap and a hey to startle the puppy. Pick them up and kennel them and clean up the mess. Okay, so if there's anything left over, I'm still not letting them out.
Okay, so in that particular instance, is the kennel seen as a punishment?
No, dogs don't think that way.
They don't. Okay.
So people, a child, you can say, go to your room, think about what you did, right? Dogs don't tie things that way. And if anything, he's kind of like, how the heck did I get in here? Okay. So to make the kennel a negative, the only way to do that would be to make the entire time in the kennel unpleasant. And then when he's not in the kennel, there's no unpleasant moments, so to speak. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Got
it's
it.
like,
Okay.
like a haunted house, right? A haunted house, we know you're going to be scared the whole time because of that setting. But as soon as you're out the haunted house, you're not on edge anymore, right? Same kind of concept. So, and we'll talk about, like, let's say he starts barking and yipping in the kennel, and people think they can't correct dogs for that because they're afraid they're going to make it a negative. That is not true either. Okay, and we'll cover these things, but let's say he's being nippy and bitey, and you put him in the kennel, he's not going to perceive it as a punishment. Okay, and that's actually it doesn't work with correcting that behavior anyway. But don't worry so much about that unless you're making the entire time he's in the kennel terrible. It's not going to happen. Okay.
Okay. What would be a when you say the entire time he's in there terrible? Well, give me an example of what that would be. I mean, because he has all of his toys in there. He has his bed in there.
Sure. You put him in the kennel, right?
Yeah.
And then you're just banging on it and yelling at him the entire time.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
okay. So you're talking about like
Okay.
that's a pretty drastic. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But like, let's say, he's yipping and barking, and you smack it real quick to quiet him down, and he quiets down. That won't create a negative. That won't make him dislike the kennel because it's context. It was a response to him yipping and barking. It was momentary, and and then he stopped yipping and barking. That's it. It is what it is, right? So it's like, I was raised old school. I was spanked.
Mm-hmm.
The belt to me wasn't anything evil, but the belt was part of being spanked. It was momentary. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's similar. Raising a puppy is like raising a kid. If we're thinking old school, not saying you spank your kids, but
Yeah.
the way I was raised, I use a lot of personal experiences to explain things to people, because when they look at a puppy, they think that they can't correct it. And I tell them, if this puppy did this act to its mother, she would bite him or her. That's how they handle things. That they're primitive animals, right? So,
yeah.
So with the kennel, you want to put them on a 2-hour schedule, and you're just keeping an eye on your puppy. Typically, after waking up from a nap, after eating or drinking, or during a lot of activity like running around and zooming around, puppies will have to go to the bathroom. Okay. So if you took him out at 10 o'clock and he takes a nap beside you and he wakes up at 11, I would assume he's got to go potty. Okay. But his outing isn't until 12 o'clock. He goes in the kennel for that last hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's very strict. And I know a lot of people want I want my dog to tell me when they have to go potty. Okay. And you don't want to do this. One, the puppy doesn't tie, I scratch the door, I go pee. It's scratch the door, I go outside. So then they learn to abuse it. And then your puppy will scratch the door just to go outside. And I even get puppies, and I had someone do another Zoom session, and I said, puppies will learn to fake pee and fake use the bathroom. And they go, yeah.
Just to go outside.
Yeah. They'll open the door, the puppy will run out, they'll lift their leg, and nothing comes out. They're faking it. Okay. So when we put them on a schedule, and actually, sorry, the other thing is, you're teaching your dog to tell you what to do. Okay, which can create a host of behaviors down the line. So it's everything. I always tell people, you want the puppy or dog to acclimate the family and not the family acclimate the dog. Okay, because that's going to be its own thing. And I know he's just 9 weeks old, but trust me, it starts at 8 weeks old all the time because people feel bad. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do we handle the as the older he gets, you know, like, so basically by this Sunday, he's going to be 10 weeks old, right? So do we, is that rule of thumb, the months to hours, like once we get then to 3 months old, then it's every 3 hours, and then we just kind of keep going?
Correct.
Okay.
So
We're on the 2-hour schedule here for the next 3 weeks.
correct.
Okay, good. All right.
So that's the easiest way to do it. It's just go by his age. Every month you increase an hour, right? Now, you might find maybe at the 5 to 6 month mark, he's struggling, okay? And he's having a hard time, like maybe there's more mistakes for whatever reason, even though you're keeping an eye on him, that I'll tell people, go back an hour, because your puppy, they're not ready for that next degree yet. And they'll keep them there for another couple of weeks or so, and then they'll bump ahead another hour, right? So it's not concrete, but that's the general rule of thumb. Another way to go about it, and this works really well when you get your puppy at 8 weeks, is if I get the puppy at 8 weeks, it's every 2 hours, right? And then at 9 weeks, I extend 15 minutes. So it's every 2 hours, 15 minutes. And then at 10 weeks, it's every 2.5 hours. 11 weeks, every 2 hours, 45 minutes. So then at 12 weeks, I'm at the 3 hour mark. So it falls perfectly with the puppy's age. And it's so incremental that it's easier for the puppy, but it's harder for the owner, because now they're having to keep tabs at like these little increments. There's no right or wrong. Most people opt for the 4 week, then I'll bump it an hour because it's the easiest.
Right.
But they tend to come across this threshold where it's like, yeah, my puppy's having an issue, and they tend to have to go back an hour. No big deal. It's just, we play that by ear, but that's also another way that I go about that process.
Does the accident, or does an accident reset the clock? Or should we still?
Technically, yes, right? Because if he peed and pooped, let's say in the house, and he's empty at 1:30 and at 2 o'clock was his outing, then chances are at 2 o'clock he's not going to have any.
All right. So we should reset the clock, unless it's just pee, then he might have to poo, right? So,
That's true.
yeah.
Correct. And as you have, with your puppy, you'll start to recognize his bowel movements, because they tend to, if you feed on a schedule, their bowel movements tend to go on schedule. So then,
Yeah, our plan is to the 2 feedings per day to be at the exact same time, so that we can plan the poops around it.
so is he eating twice now or 3 times?
Twice. Well, we're going to talk to the vet, obviously, and see what they recommend too. But right now we're on 2 times a day.
Okay, the vet will most likely recommend 3 times.
Okay.
So for puppies under 6 months, it's 3 meals. After 6 months, 2 meals. After a year, you can switch to 1 meal. Most people tend to do 2 meals.
All right.
Because they're burning through nutrition and stuff, so they need how would you say, more nutrients throughout the day. So my suggestion is you go to 3. You can see what your vet said. They might say it's fine on 2. I don't argue with vets except for a couple of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all personal preference, but definitely, 2 is fine. Definitely don't want to feed once. You want to feed at least twice. Most people do 3 until 6 months. Okay. And when you do those 3 meals or 2 meals, you're taking, so if your bag tells you 1 cup for the day, it doesn't mean 1 cup 2 times, right? It's 1 cup split into 2 half cups.
Right. Okay.
People make that mistake that they're overfeeding their puppy, and then they're worried that their puppy isn't eating, but then I find out they're just feeding their puppy way too much.
Got it.
Okay. Is your puppy on kibble?
Yes.
Is that what it's called?
We stuck with what the breeder was doing. It's called Life's Abundance, but I was looking at some of the Canadian brands, like Wow, and I just heard they have better FDA, they have better approvals for their foods. So that was something we were going to discuss with the vet as well. We soften it a little bit with some water, low sodium chicken stock, just because they said he hasn't been on solids that long.
Okay. So I'm not familiar with those brands. I think I just started hearing about Life's Abundance from a couple of the clients that I have that got puppies from a breeder. When you pick your food, my suggestion is you watch or read the percentage of protein, okay? If you see anything 28 to 33, 35% protein, you would think it's good, but in my experience, it's an issue with puppies. For one reason, the binding process requires, if I remember correctly, glucose, which dehydrates dogs. The second thing is the higher protein, a byproduct of protein is ammonia. So to flush the ammonia out, the dogs drink more water, okay? So throughout the years, I noticed this kind of trend of dehydrated puppies, and you'll notice, like your puppy will go and they'll look like it's not enough water. And I traced it back to the food, and as soon as I had clients switch their foods, all of a sudden their puppies weren't dehydrated anymore.
We're just gonna look at the food right now, if you don't mind.
Sure. It should be a little black box.
Crude protein,
Yep.
26%.
Okay. You should be, what are the ingredients, by the way?
Crude protein, crude fat, crude fiber, moisture, DHA, EPA.
The ingredients is like the chicken or the beef. It'll say ingredients and there'll be a list of.
Oh, I'm sorry. There it is. Chicken meal, ground brown rice, oat groats, chicken fat, egg product, dried tomato, pumice, pearl barley, flaxseed meal, yeast culture.
Yeah, it's fine. So that food is not that good.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, our breeder, because they had something in the paperwork that if we don't feed him this, that it voided something, but she's a rep for the food company. I'm like, this is a one bag and done. I just wanted to make the transition for him easier. And as soon as we got through this bag, or we were going to kind of mix other food and then get him off this stuff.
But it's going to take a while for him.
We don't need to go through this whole bag.
This bag is huge. So if there's stuff that you recommend, please email us if you can.
Then there's the debate of the whole grain-free versus not, right?
So this is my take on it, okay? And at the end of the day, I always tell everybody, your dog, your rules. Is people it's like McDonald's, right? Sometimes people get salmonella at McDonald's.
Yeah.
But you're dishing out millions of burgers a day, right? It's gonna happen. When it comes to the grain-free, and from what I understood from the study, like it was a lot of dogs. It was a few thousand, if I remember correctly. But if you think of the number of dogs we're actually feeding, like it comes down to its genetics, just the digestive system, the heart condition of the dog. Like there's a lot of variables that go into play, right? I feed my dogs grain-free.
Okay.
And a couple of my clients were like, Jesse, did you hear about this? And I was like, yeah, I heard about it, but it's like, just like anything else, like things are bound to happen, right?
Well, and that study was, I think, sponsored by Purina. So then it called a lot of it into question as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a problem.
Yeah. So I always tell people, here's the information, right? This is what I know. This is what I've learned throughout the years. Do what makes you feel good at the end of the day. Right?
Okay.
Because if you agree with someone else and you're going against yourself and then something goes wrong right away, you're just going to turn around and be like, you know what? It's this person's fault, right?
Yeah.
So I always suggest do your research. From what I've learned is I would stay away from high protein percentage bags. The 23 to like 24 is like the norm.
Okay.
26 isn't that far up, but the chicken meal to the brown rice to all that other stuff, like that's like you would see like cooked chicken, and like another protein. Like you would see a bunch of meat products first.
Okay.
I'm not, the grains, personal preference. I have dogs that I care for with daycare and stuff that are on grain food. It's like whatever. The best diet for a dog is technically raw diet. And I have a pet nutritionist. Her specialty is puppies and dog nutrition. That I can set you up with the Zoom session as well, and she can help educate you even more if you'd like.
Yeah.
Her realm, I know a little bit. She knows it really well.
Yeah.
So When it comes to transitioning, whenever you're ready, I like Signature. It's an all life stages food. It's grain free, and they have like 12 different types of proteins. My suggestion is when you get a puppy, you rotate. If you're doing kibble, you rotate your protein bag. So I always get smaller ones, and you do the transition correctly, which I can say on. And the reason for rotating the proteins is because puppies don't have the enzymes needed to break down all types of food. So every time you switch up the protein, they're developing those enzymes, right? The common school of thought is don't switch your puppy because then you got to deal with diarrhea. But then the long-term effect is, let's say your puppy has chicken for a year, and then you travel, and then you have to pick up a bag of beef or something.
Yeah.
And now your puppy's stomach's not going to be able to handle beef.
Got
and
it.
I've had people who kept their dog on a specific food for years, and then they switched, and then their dogs first started falling out. They were having digestive issues, flaring up with hot spots and rashes because they never got exposed to other proteins. Okay. If you feed your puppy something and it's just like watery diarrhea that's not getting better, then the chances are your puppy just cannot handle that protein. I just crossed off the menu, switch to something else.
Got it.
Okay? And then Maddie, my pet nutritionist, she can help you more with that stuff as well. Okay. But I think you're fine with that bag for now. And then you can do your research in the meantime. And then you can transition whenever you're ready. Okay.
Okay.
So with the kennel, that space there is pretty big. How's the puppy been in there during this past? You've had him for a week now?
No, we just got him.
We got him on Saturday night.
Saturday.
So what he basically does is he will, fall asleep typically in the bed. And then we've seen him actually get up out of his bed and go to the other spot in there and sleep.
He alternates between the floor and the bed.
Yeah.
Okay, he's probably getting a little warm or something. That's fine.
Yeah.
So,
and that's about it.
So when it comes to the kennel, the typical or the standard rule of thumb is just enough space for the puppy to go in, turn around, and lay down. Okay, so that space, like he's got plenty, right?
Yeah.
The problem that you may have, and I think I saw a potty pad.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So a couple of things here. One, it's so big that he may pee and poop on one side and sleep on the other side, right? If you have a potty pad, it makes it not as gross. Okay, because it absorbs the urine, and that's actually, when a puppy pees in the kennel and they have to sit next to that puddle, that's what deters them from peeing again in the space.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I'm fine with the setup as is. Okay, as I play everything by ear. If you see in the coming week you're waking up the potty mistakes, or you're seeing potty mistakes while he's in that kennel, then we need to change. We need to tighten it up, make it smaller, and move things. Okay.
Yeah, we have the ability to do that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
The other question I would have is, do you think we should take the pads out of there?
Yeah.
What's on? Is the carpet or hardwood?
No,
It's hardwood, and I did it purely just for something softer.
Yeah, it's hardwood.
So what I would do is leave it as is, okay? Because if he pees and it sits overnight, it's going to ruin your floors. Okay.
Yeah.
So we would want to think. So that cage is open top, open bottom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Is I would think about if he ends up pottying, what you're going to use for the flooring.
Okay.
Because if he's having potty, because that's what we're planning for is potty mistakes, right? Is that if he keeps being in the same spot, it's gonna the wood's gonna warp and it's gonna get messed up. Okay.
What would be a good surface for us to put in there?
Plastic.
I guess it could be plastic.
Plastic, right?
I mean, because I use the wire kennels that they have the removable bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, I like yours. It looks very pretty. I like it a lot. But
well, that's her fault. Everything has to be pretty.
If I have to look at it, it has to look good.
Everything has to be pretty, but who she married. That's all.
You're not the first person. You're not the last person that's done that. Okay. But functionality wise, there's some potential issues. Okay.
Got it.
So just think about what you have around. If there's something that you can, MacGyver, like put underneath,
Yeah.
just protect your flooring, I'm perfectly fine with it. But we'll play it by ear for this week. And if you start to see more accidents than not happening in there, we definitely have to shrink it down, put something on the bottom and remove everything, so that it deters him from peeing and pooping in there.
Okay.
Okay. But
I think so far, I mean, granted, we're only 2 days in, but I think so far he hasn't gone inside there, has
He hasn't gone inside there yet.
Okay.
And it's like super rare that I'll get a puppy that never has a potty mistake in the kennel, despite the fact that the owner gave him this huge kennel or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if there's no mistakes, then I don't care, right? It's when that starts to happen, because things are going to change a lot during the next few weeks with your puppy. They're going to change a lot.
Okay.
They'll have like a calm little puppy and they'll go, oh, it's so calm and quiet, I love it. And then 2 weeks later, they're like running around, barking at everything, tearing up stuff and chewing on things. They go,
Yeah.
yep, that's a dog.
Right.
Okay. So when it comes to, are you guys on stay-at-home order and quarantine stuff? You're working from home, or are you guys?
We are, but we work from home anyway, so.
Yeah.
Okay. So a big thing now that people aren't aware of is the potential issue of separation anxiety. Are you guys familiar with this term?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's very common with puppies because pre-COVID, what people would do is they'd get a puppy and they would take 2 to 3 weeks off so they could raise their puppy and be around and potty train. And they would be around 24/7 during those 2 to 3 weeks. And then, all right, puppy, my 9 to 5, right? Got to go. And the puppy's like, hey, what happened? You were around me 24/7 and now you're gone. And then the puppy is barking all day. That's with the quarantine. The main thing I'm kind of trying to educate people on is like, you have to replicate life, what it would be like. Like, so actually you said, did you work from home even pre-COVID?
Yeah.
We both do.
Okay. So I mean, this, I guess to some degree, this is your normal life, right? Just be
Yeah.
working from home.
It is, yeah. But I mean, normally the kids wouldn't be
The
around.
kids wouldn't be, they'd be in school, so that's the only new thing, but we're just about to go into summer.
Yeah, we're just about to.
So come fall, the kids will leave, but we'll still be home.
All right. So I'm going to make some suggestions here. And let's say, I'm glad that you have a kennel. We definitely want to crate train the puppy. But I'd also take time to have the puppy be isolated or independent of the family, okay? To teach them to be alone. Because let's say, even though your normal life is, yeah, we are home working from home, is if you ever have to travel and you can't take your dog, and maybe you leave them with a friend to watch, and then the puppy, they have to leave for 9 to 5.
Yeah.
There's an issue there. Or if you send your puppy to daycare or a boarding facility, they're going to have to deal with the issue. And we get dogs that will like destroy the kennels because they don't want to be locked up, right? Yeah. So I always tell people, you want to plan for that future, right? So what I would suggest is, you can have another kennel, maybe the more like appropriate size one, and I would put it somewhere where the puppy would be the least audible, and put them in there for a few hours out the day, Monday through Friday. If you want to do half a day, like 8 to 12, just so the puppy gets a routine of like, I might be away from the family for a period of time, and it's okay, right? So getting them.
Could we keep what we have and just put them in there, and then all of us go upstairs?
Yeah, you can do that.
Do it out of sight, out of mind. Okay.
Yeah, as long as you're not in the picture, right?
Got it. Okay.
The thing that you might have to deal with is his bark is most likely going to resonate quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. If that's the case, you can put like a blanket or a heavy towel over the top to help muffle.
Okay.
I would leave a little bit of an opening to allow airflow.
Okay.
But this way it'll help muffle the barking quite a bit. Let's say you're trying to work from home and he's barking and you're just like, it's just too annoying.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want to avoid coming down and like giving them something like a treat or a toy or any kind of attention to soothe him. Even like shut up, okay? Even coming down going shut up, like even that, because it's negative, but it's negative attention that the
Mhm.
pup may learn. If I bark for long enough, I'll get something,
Yeah.
and then you create an issue, right? So what I suggest is that you set your time. Puppy's going to be in there from 8 to 12, and maybe he's barking till 12, and you come down and you let him out and you go about your day, and you keep repeating that. At some point, your puppy will learn the schedule and go, oh, I can try barking for 4 hours, but it's not going to end. You know, that doesn't matter. I'm going to be let out at 12 o'clock. And they start
That works once we get past the every 2 hour have to go out phase, right?
Or no, we could take him out every 2 hours, even when he's in there for 4.
So, and this is the other part of potty training. There's going to be exceptions. Okay.
Okay.
So the reason for the kennel is, let's say you did have to leave for a 9 to 5, right? Is with puppies, the owner would leave for work, and then maybe midday around 12 or 1, they'd have a dog walker come to let the puppy have to go potty, exercise the puppy, and then bring them back in until the owners got home later in the evening, right? Is when your puppy is in the kennel, if with everything going well, if the puppies don't want to pee or poop where they eat and sleep, right? So the reasoning for having the puppy in the kennel is to teach them to hold it for longer than the 2 hours. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you put your puppy 8 to 12, that would be the exception to the every 2 hour rule, because ideally he's going to hold it during that time.
Okay.
If there was a mistake and he pees or poops, then he's got to sit next to it for, X amount of time. So then the next time he's in the kennel and he thinks, man, I got to pee or poop, but yesterday I did it and I had to sit next to it for a really long time, he's going to be incentivized to hold it for longer.
Okay.
Okay. So that's part of the potty training process. Is mistakes or accidents aren't bad. They're only bad when they're in the home because they're not learning experiences. Or if the space is too big, it doesn't phase the puppy to pee and poop over here and then sleep over here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you put them in there for 4 hours and you do your work thing Monday through Friday, and you come home or you come down at 12 o'clock and it's empty every day, there's no mistakes, then you're fine. Right.
Okay.
But if we start to see mistakes, then we have to consider, again, shrinking things down and adjusting.
What are your thoughts? And then I want to have my youngest come over so she could hear you say it.
Sure.
But when the puppy is in the crate, okay, we are not supposed to be engaging with the puppy, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Juliana,
Did you hear that 8-year-old?
come here.
That's
And
all.
it's hard because she really wants to, obviously pet, whatever. Come here.
So come listen to this.
We have something that you need to hear.
You need to hear this.
Okay.
He's sleeping, so let him be.
So what we're talking about right now, this is Juliana.
Hi,
This
Juliana.
is Jesse. So what we were talking about is when the dog is in the crate. Okay. I know you feel bad. I know you feel bad. But listen, this gentleman knows what he's doing. This is what he does for a living. He trains puppies to be really, really good puppies. So we have to listen to him. Okay.
So you want to ignore the puppy when he's in his kennel, because we want him to think of that kennel as his resting quiet place. Okay. So that he associates the kennel with calmness and just being relaxed. But if you go and you engage with him and you like say, hi puppy, and be very, engaging or cutesy with him, and you get him excited, then he's going to start barking a lot. And then once he starts barking a lot, he may bark for a really long time before he settles down again. And that creates potential problems in the future. Right now, your puppy, he's, how do you say, kind of like a blank slate. Okay. He hasn't really learned any bad or good behaviors quite yet. And we want to always start off on the right foot and not teach bad behaviors, because it's much harder to fix things and much easier to prevent things. Okay.
Mhm.
So if you want to walk by and just kind of look at him, or maybe look at him from afar and just kind of enjoy how cute he is in a very calm fashion, that's fine. But definitely, you don't want to be at the window or the glass, like waving and tapping on it.
Yeah, well,
Which we have done.
that's the only problem with it being open on top too, because she walked over yesterday and was like petting him while he was in there, and I was like, no, you can't do that. So now you understand,
You
right?
heard it from a professional,
Right.
so not just mommy, daddy telling you no.
I know.
He is very cute, but we don't want bad behavior puppies.
Right.
So we want the best boy that he can be. So you have to help.
Okay.
All right, go. You're
Cool.
free.
You know, what may possibly help, and I'm not sure, maybe if you guys are already doing this already, but, you know, it's just scheduling play sessions with your daughters. I think you had one other daughter, was it?
And
Yeah,
two girls and a boy.
and a son.
You know, if to kind of balance things out, like, hey, just ignore the dog. And then at the end, once we let them out to go potty, you can get like a 15-minute session with them or whatever. Just so you're kind of balancing it out a bit.
Yeah.
But definitely, you know, petting over the top of the kennel or engaging with the glass and stuff is going to create problems. Right. Like, what may happen is, let's say you guys are correcting the puppy and like teaching them, like, yes, we know Juliana engaged with you, but now like you have to stop those behaviors. Is you're going to create this cycle where if she were to keep engaging even to a small degree, and you're trying to correct the puppy to like resolve the issue, the puppy will keep with it because he's still getting rewarded to a degree. And I see this happen a lot with families when they're not on the same page, you know, where it's very problematic. So in the end, things can always be addressed and fixed. Yeah. It's just going to take a little bit of work.
And how much time during the day would you say in a normal day the dog should be in the crate?
I go by what the family wants and like what's going to be realistic, right? So for you guys, since you're home throughout the week, I would, you know, like keeping that, like if I said that Monday to Friday, you put your puppy in the kennel for a part of the day, and then the rest of the day, it's kind of like, okay, we're on our 2-hour schedule, is fine. The reasoning for keeping the dog put away or the puppy put away is just potty training stuff, you know? So if you happen to have a miracle puppy, and I've only ever had this happen once, by the way.
Come on, so there's a chance.
Once in 10 years of training dogs, that puppy never had an accident ever with the family. Okay. And from day one, the puppy would whine and cry to go potty. Okay. And they were taking their puppy out. They went outside of my rules, right? But I'm the one that's kind of like, well, if it's not broke, I fix it. Right. But they're like, yeah, they're like, and then their puppies, they grew up as an adult, never had a potty mistake in the house, period.
Okay. Right. No, that's fine. And I think that's
it was a freak puppy, you know?
Right.
But yeah, so
we just need to convince them, yeah.
If your puppy's doing fine with potty training, they get more privileges, is how I look at it. Okay.
Yeah.
The overnight thing, I'm not opposed to a puppy being out overnight if they're capable of like sleeping. Like I get some clients that sleep with the puppy on the bed, and they'll say the puppy doesn't get up at all. Then I go, that's fine. I just don't want the puppy getting up middle of the night and peeing and pooping and then climbing back up on the bed.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't think we're there.
No, and I'll be honest with you, I'm glad we scheduled this as early as we did, because again, we got him on Saturday, and the last 2 nights, because we thought it was every 2 hours, even through the night, you know, we've slept on the couch. Last night, I took him out at 10, and then I took him out at 2 a.m. And then he was up again at 6. So now I know I can sleep upstairs and just let him go from 10 to 6 and deal with it how we need to deal with it.
Yes, they learn very quickly.
I'm sure, because and correct me if this is right or wrong, we've been trying to get him to go on those 2 pads outside because we've got a lot of steps going down too, and he's having a hard time navigating.
Sure.
So we put the 2 pads, not in the house, but on the deck close.
Mm-hmm.
And every time he pees there, we give him a little, he fried up some chicken. I mean, like a nub. We don't give him anything big because our one friend told us, he's like, a treat like this and a treat like this, to them it registers the same. So give him the smallest piece possible as your treat. So if he pees there, we'll give him a little nub of either bacon or chicken or something super small to reward him there. I mean, is that okay?
So I'm glad you mentioned that, so we can talk about the patch and everything. And whoever your friend is, so far they're giving you good advice.
Nice. I think his parents raised dogs.
Okay.
So
yeah, dogs don't care about the size of the treat. They care about the rate of reinforcement.
okay.
So if I take a treat this big, this is like, for me, you know, like a little square. That's like 5 treats.
Yeah.
Right. Because puppies do get full very quickly. And then plus they're still developing enzymes. You want to give them too much because then diarrhea issues, right? So you're like worried about all these things at once. So with the patch thing, is that temporary or is that permanent?
We'd like it to be, because again, just living in the city and not the suburbs.
I mean, you tell us, honestly, like we were just told like not to take the dog for walks until he gets vaccinated.
Yeah, some shots, and I don't know if there's a second round that he has to go, because somebody told us if he's out on the street, they can pick something up on the street. So we've been kind of keeping him just in the backyard initially.
But like during the day, I would love it to just take him for walks. And then at night, if he has to go out at night,
yeah, but
especially during this training stage,
for that 10 o'clock bathroom run, because I don't want to walk in Chicago at 10 o'clock at night.
Sure.
So I'd like to have a patch
yeah,
somewhere.
that was one of the things we wanted to talk to you about, because now that we know we should not be not waking him up, but even if he's up in the middle of the night, he should be able to hold it. We don't have to worry about a 2 a.m. you're walking on.
No, but you,
So
you saw the 10 p.m.
That's
I just
good.
don't think it's smart. I mean, living in the city.
So think of it this way. I have no problem with the patch, okay? Is in the future, if you move the location of that patch, your dog may be so conditioned to going to that specific spot that you'll still pee and poop there, okay? Now, if that's not problematic, then it's not an issue.
No, that's very problematic.
Well, yeah, because it's right next to our table. So here's our other thing, and I'd like to ask you. So we have fake grass as a side yard. So to put a fake patch on it, is it more about the texture? Is it more about the spot? So like I'll move that thing to the, basically front of our house.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, maybe that's what we do and do it there. We'll just have to take him down the steps initially each time, which I guess isn't a big deal until he learns to navigate the steps. Because there's a lot and they're steep. And then keep it in the same spot up front. I just was under the impression closer the better at this point.
There's ways around it. So
okay.
That little dog run that I saw with the fake grass.
Yeah.
Are you wanting him to not potty there?
No, because the kids play there. So that's why we wanted to kind of put it off to the side at the end of it to have those two things.
So it's going to be a little tricky, okay? So one thing would be dogs register absorbent surface, non-absorbent surface is usually how they think, okay?
Yeah.
So like, I like that you put plastic over that rug or carpet that you have there. That was smart. And which I would recommend if you have any loose rugs, roll them up and put them away if they're not going to be covered. Because your puppy doesn't think grass, he's thinking absorbent surface, So then that's why when you have hardwood and carpeted areas, dogs or puppies will always have accidents like in the carpeted areas because it's just, they feel soft to them.
Yeah.
Right. So outside with dogs, it comes down to habit. Okay. Now, you're probably going to get an accident or two throughout his life in that dog, in that kid run. It's not a dog,
Yeah.
it's a kid run, right? Just to be realistic.
Yeah.
If you want to condition them to go to a spot, you can. So like I get clients who have yards, but they don't want their dog to destroy the yard with peeing and leaving random landmines, little poops.
Yeah.
So they'll pick a section of the yard, and they'll say, Jesse, if you want a dog to only go there, is that possible? I go, yes. But you have to dogs are about habit. So I would take your patch, okay, and if he doesn't gravitate to the patch because it's fake, I don't know if you guys heard, I think they're still around that. It's called Fresh Patch. They were on a Shark Tank, and they deliver a patch of grass. You get like this container, and then they deliver a patch of grass every so often to your house, and then you just toss out the old one. So you're getting a real patch of grass. So I've had
our entire yard is fake anyhow. So does that matter?
Yes and no. Like he would be less, how do you say, instinctually less inclined to go there right away. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But over the course of time, there's probably going to be where he like might mark something or pee on something, right? Like it's not natural to him because he's meant to be out peeing and pooping on soil and grass and trees and stuff, right? But if you got a puppy that's just got to go, chances are he'll go on whatever you put him on.
Yeah.
Got it.
So the grass just makes it easier because it's more natural to the dog. Like you'll see stuff in the store where it's a pad and it'll say like a spray with pheromones to go potty on the pad. It's just marketing. It's marketing. Doesn't work. Okay.
Got it.
So I would take the patch of grass that you have and pick where you want him to go in the yard, right? And I would pick somewhere where you're like, I don't care if this doesn't bother me that he goes there.
Right. Yeah, that's smart. I think we initially had those there because they're two separate patches. We had one here and one up there, but I think now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably better to just put both by the front of the house.
Maybe where we didn't plant that
Yeah.
boxwood, because it's right next to those trees.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, but that's a good point.
And then when it comes to taking your puppy out, when you need it to be that specific, okay? When you run him out the potty, you take him on a leash, and if you need to, because he's small, you can pick him up and carry him out and set him on the patch, and you're going to keep him there. Okay. If he tries to step off, you're just going to use your leash to place him back on the potty pad, and you're going to keep him there. And pick your limit: 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever length of time you're going to wait. Okay. Let's say your puppy doesn't pee or poop on the pad, and it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and you know he has to go, and you wait for 10 minutes, and you go, okay, he's not going. Well, don't give him freedom because he's got to go, right? He's just not going because it's not natural to him. Then I take the puppy, I carry him back inside, and I put him back in the kennel.
Got it.
For 2 hours, right? So what you're doing here is you're making every time he potties in one specific spot. That's how dogs get conditioned, right? So when my families want to work their dog to pee in one part of the yard, I go take them out every single time for months to that spot. So then when you end up opening your door, you'll see the dog run to the spot.
By himself, yeah. That's
Right.
the goal, right? Yeah.
But then you have to restrict everything else though.
Yeah.
Because if you end up taking and we'll talk about the walking stuff, but let's say you walk your puppy and he pees and poops on the walk. It's not a bad thing, right? But in your case, if you're really wanting this specific, you do not poo or pee anywhere in the yard, but this specific spot, you have to eliminate all other options. So the dog or puppy gets so conditioned to this is where I go.
Okay.
Okay.
So we could almost too, because we've got a gate right there too. We could just take him out the side, go to the spot, let him do his business, and then take him on a walk once he's done it.
Correct. And then you would want to, at the end of your walk, present him back to that patch because you have to go again.
Got it.
If he doesn't go again, I would kennel him, give it like half an hour, run him back to the spot, and then he goes, and then give him freedom.
Okay.
Okay, so the reason why I said half an hour, it's because then your puppy will end up spending more time in the kennel than loose time, and I'm trying to balance it out so it's even. Does that make sense?
Got it. Okay.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
because of the high activity of the walking,
Yeah.
a lot of times puppies have to go. But I anticipate he'd go anyways at some point, right? But that's why I'm mentioning it to you, because it's the more you get him to go in that one specific spot in these phases or in this stage, the easier it'll be in the future, like going over in time that you'll go to.
Okay.
Okay. I just gotta move. I can't
He
sit.
has bad back. You can't sit on the floor.
I have a herniated disc in my back, so I can't sit on the floor that long. All right. Well, that's extremely helpful, and I feel like at least our instincts are correct in a lot of cases. It's just implementation, right?
Yes. The next thing is going to be exposing your dog outside, right? Or your puppy. Again, this is personal preference. Veterinarians will tell you, don't take your puppy out. They're not fully vaccinated, right? And it creates like this paranoia amongst puppy owners. Dog trainers will tell you, take your puppy for walks because you're exposing them to the world, right? And the importance behind that is socialization. So we avoid like human or dog aggression type things. And like we've got puppies that come to my daycare, and we walk right now, since it's so slow because of COVID, we take the puppies and dogs out for a long walk. And I could tell which of my puppies weren't being walked because every time a car would pass by, they would shudder and like run away. But as we exposed them more, they got over it. And now they walk like champs, right? But if you don't expose them until I think it's 4 months is when a puppy is fully vaccinated, you're missing a lot of critical socialization things, right?
Are you talking specifically just in terms of city noises, other dogs, things like that? All of it?
Yeah. So when it comes to the diseases stuff, okay, I've told all my clients, walk your dog, but stay away from highly trafficked places. Like, don't take your puppy to the dog park, okay? If you see a corner of the street where dogs pee all the time, don't go to that corner of the street, It's really just heavily populated places where dogs are just peeing and pooping is what you want to stay away from.
You hear that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, in my career, I've only ever had one person whose puppy contracted a virus, and it was actually before they did anything with us. Like they were going to do training, and then like I think a week before their training was going to start, the puppy caught like parvo and unfortunately passed. I asked them, I was like, sorry for your loss. Can you tell us what happened? Because I would like to know so I could tell my other puppy owners, but they never got back to us. But all my years, when I've told people, walk your puppies, I've not ever had anybody get sick and lose their puppy in response.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell them, like, don't go to the dog park. Don't take your puppy off leash at the park where you see people have their dogs playing off leash and stuff.
Yeah.
Highly populated areas. If you're staying in the neighborhood, just on the sidewalk, chances are you're perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And
that's what I mean. Honestly, that's what I would like to do. And honestly, just doing that instead of having him go in the yard is ideal for me.
Yes.
100%. We've just been doing the patch because we kind of got spooked a little bit by, other dog owners who said, don't take the dog out until their vaccinations because you don't want them to get diseases. So.
Right. Again, personal preference.
Yeah.
This has just been my experience. Because I've seen people with puppies that shouldn't be out, like, the dog park or whatever. And I'm like, like that I disagree with. If your friend has a puppy or you have a friend who has an adult dog who's vaccinated, you can socialize them. It's really the unknown that you have to be careful of.
Right. Other people's dogs that we don't know.
Correct. So I wouldn't let my puppy socialize with a rando dog. But if you're the dog and you're like, is your dog up to date on vaccinations? And they say yes. And they're like, is your dog okay with puppies? And they say yes. I think that's a good opportunity.
Okay.
Okay. So the patch, if you need the patch to work, you have the answers for the patch, right?
Yeah.
If the patch is just there because of this whole, exposure of the puppy and vaccinations and stuff, I personally think you're okay.
Okay.
But always opt for what makes you feel best at the end of the day.
Got it.
Okay.
All right. No, that's good to know because I would much prefer them, us and the kids walking the dog outside in the street, in the sidewalk.
Yeah, but that doesn't negate the fact that I don't think anyone should be out at 10:30 at night walking a dog.
That's our personal thing we got to deal with. But
I
yeah.
know.
Right.
Okay.
And I mean, like right now with everything going on, I don't know if you want to be out past 9 o'clock, right?
Well, that's the point. So it's just like, I mean,
Yeah.
we just,
So are we? Do you think we're going in a bad direction if we walk all day long, and then expect him to go in that one spot at 10 o'clock at night, which is his last time he goes before the morning?
So what
Is
I
that
would,
unreal? I mean, I guess what I'm asking is it unrealistic for us to think that we're going to be able to train him to do that?
no, it's not that it's unrealistic. It's just it's more work.
yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the balance for both approaches, okay, would be patch and outside. Is I would take advantage of the first morning potties because it's guaranteed a puppy has to pee and poop for like most part pee and poop when they wake up, right?
Okay.
I take that opportunity to take them to the patch. And
Okay.
right? And I would wait longer at the patch to give him time to go.
Okay.
When he goes, bacon, chicken, cheese, whatever you're doing, good puppy, right? And then you do your walks throughout the day.
Yeah.
And then at nighttime, 10 o'clock, you let him to the patch.
That's not bad.
Maybe he doesn't go, okay? I kennel him. Because if he potties overnight, that's going to be the learning lesson.
That's him. Yeah, that's
him.
on him. Okay.
Okay.
No, that's a good plan. I like that.
That's not a bad plan. I like that. Okay.
There's always an answer. Like I had to train a dog to go to a litter box, and it was hell for 2 weeks because he would not pee or poop anywhere else but outside, and the owner had a stroke, and he couldn't take him out several times. So
Oh.
they needed him to go in a litter box. So I told him if that puppy doesn't go, he lives in the kennel until he goes in that box, and then he gets freedom. And it was literally 2 weeks of the puppy peeing and pooping in the kennel before he finally broke and started using the litter box.
Probably ran out of space.
Yeah, so I can make it happen, but it's just work. But
Okay.
I think that balance would meet both your, how do you say, not wanting to go past 10 o'clock, but just understanding that there's going to be accidents.
Yeah.
And then also just keep in mind that kennel, that's going to be a big factor in how that progresses.
Got it.
Yeah, maybe we'll see how the next day or two goes.
Yeah.
And if he's doing okay, we'll kind of run with it. If not, then you can take a section of it off and just wall it off. So basically it becomes half the size.
Okay. Are you able to use one of those panels, like to just put it underneath so it becomes the baseline or the flooring instead?
I don't know because it's acrylic. It might
Scratch the floor.
Well, I just don't know. Honestly, can't I just get like a rubber outdoor mat and cut that, or is it because
as long as the pee will sit on it and
not absorb?
Not porous, right?
Yeah.
Because you want the puddle to be there so that he's like, this is gross, I don't want to touch that.
Like a snow mat. Would that absorb? Do snow mats absorb it?
Oh no, I think you'd be like with the shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that actually might work because it's not that the water disappears or absorbs, it's that it evaporates.
Got it. Okay.
Right? So yeah, that could potentially work.
Got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what's the kind of schedule with these calls?
Typically once every 7 days to give you time to have good experiences, bad experiences, what's working, what's not working. I always suggest during the week make a list of questions, right? Topics.
Yeah.
Because you'll forget. Like I get clients, I was like, I remember I had something to ask, and then I forgot to write it down.
Can I just briefly ask, and I don't know if this is a time, how long we had with this call, just because they're scared of him because he's nipping. Is it just as simple as just offering him something else versus, oh boy, damn it.
But it's still simple, in my
Okay,
opinion. Okay. But your children may be uncomfortable with it.
okay,
So earlier I mentioned if a puppy does something to the mother, how she would correct the puppy?
probably bite or
Bite 'em.
yip,
Yeah.
yeah,
So like if the puppy's biting at the mom to play, and the mom's like, I'm resting now from nursing 8 puppies, she bites them.
yeah,
Human thought process is you don't want to be mean to your puppy. You don't want to hurt your puppy. I get it, right?
yeah,
Me neither. Going back to how I was raised old school. I was spanked.
I got the belt too,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I got it.
We're
Italian.
we're
We got
Italian,
soap,
so-
we got belt, we got shoes, wooden spoon.
You can relate, right? So it hurt, but the intention wasn't to hurt. The intention is
Yeah.
to teach a lesson. It's the same thing with the mother dog, right? Is that it's easy to correct. It's just the kids might have an issue with it. Okay.
Okay,
The redirect really doesn't do anything. It doesn't teach the puppy, don't nip us. You're just changing the topic. But then what happens is you'll give your puppy a bone and they'll go, this is boring. And they'll turn around and they go, but your hands move.
yeah,
It's fun, right? And you go, ow, and you pull away and you move and you run. It makes it more exciting, right? So most of the time the redirect does not work.
okay,
So what you can, I think the easiest approach for this week is if you go on Amazon and you pick up what's called a pet corrector. Okay, it's a
is that
little
loud noise thing?
the red can.
Yeah, no, our cousins used it on their dog.
Okay,
Um,
that's the easiest and simplest way for now.
kind of like an air horn, isn't it?
No,
I mean, not, oh,
it's just compressed air.
oh, it sprays them, that's right, okay,
Sure. So the theory here is it's the sound spooks the puppy. Okay.
okay,
So when the puppy's nipping, you would spray it, and the hiss should ideally spook the puppy to where they take their mouth off and they stop. Okay.
okay,
Like being spanked.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
With air. If it
You
works,
said red can, right?
it's literally called pet corrector.
That's
Correct.
it.
Yep.
Okay,
Kind of funny, if I order an 8-pack, I can get it tomorrow, but if I only order one bottle, it's gonna take a week.
we're probably gonna need an 8-pack.
What? Just get the 8-pack and then just hustle them to the other puppy owners, you know?
Yeah,
Exactly.
there you go.
Don't wait a week. We got them right now. So
Yeah, I'm doing it.
if the hiss doesn't work, what I do is I spray the puppy on the hindquarters. Okay. It has a weird feeling to it. So it'll freak the puppy out. Okay. He might yip and yell and yelp and all that stuff. Don't feel sorry. Don't pet him, right? Because then you're negating the correction. Okay. Let him deal with it. He'll be fine. But what happens is the puppy thinks, I put my mouth on you, this happened, I didn't like it, right? Then later on, maybe he tries it again and you repeat and he goes, oh, I did it again and that thing I didn't like happened again.
Yeah,
What happens if I don't put my mouth on them and I just lick them? Nothing happened.
nothing happens.
That's the easiest way in the beginning with the kids, okay? I do recommend the kids aren't too like, with the puppy, because that's going to incite more nipping and biting, okay?
Got it.
Until I can go over how you can address that as well. But that pet corrector is the easiest way, and I'll actually send you an email, and if you can, if you should have my contact info, because I have a couple more calls right just after you.
Yeah.
Is shoot me an email and say, hey, Jesse, please send me that video. I have a video of me working with a puppy with the pet corrector, so you can
Oh,
see.
nice. Okay.
All right, good. And then will the girl from your office send us a Zoom invite for next week if we want to do it just every Monday?
Sure. So actually for her, if you want to speak to her about nutrition, you can speak to her as soon as you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's not anything training related. That's more so just FYI and nutrition stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to meet with her in a week, you can do so. If you want to meet with her sooner, just let Maria know.
Okay.
The training that you do with me, I suggest we space out a week in between.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I meant. For the next Zoom call, she'll send out an email for that.
Correct. And that'll be with me. And if you want to set something with Maddie, I can let her know and then she'll get in touch with you.
Yeah, we'll talk about it and see if that's something we want to do for sure.
Okay. For sure. Okay, no problem.
This puppy, Bocce's sleeping right now. So as soon as he wakes up, I'm taking him to these mats.
Correct.
And then the 2 hours starts.
Correct.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, everybody. If you need anything else, you let us know.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Jesse.
much.
I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Be safe.
All right. Thank you too.